everybody. Welcome to the weekly news recap, the 16th to the 22nd of September 2024. So, this week, there were a couple of indie showcases, and Ryo Gagutoku Studio, the people behind the Yakuza games, Like a Dragon games, also had their own mini showcase where they showed off the next game in the Like a Dragon series, or I think it's more of a spin-off or an in-between game. So this is going to be starring Majima Goru, who's he's sort of like an anti-hero, like antagonist protagonist kind of thing. He started off as like a villain for like the second game, then kind of became somewhat of a support character for a little bit, then went back to being the villain for a little bit, and then Yakuza 0, which is a prequel thing, you actually did play as him. It's like half the story was focused on him and a bunch of other things. So his character's been fleshed out quite a bit at this point. So he's getting his own game. The Like a Dragon series has moved to Hawaii in the last game. So Goro has made his way there. Majima has made his way there as well. Starts off being amnesiac, which sort of ingratiates him with the people who help him, kind of, humanize him a little bit. And then it just goes full on bonkers and he just becomes a pirate. I'm skipping a lot of preamble. This guy's just dressed as like Caribbean pirates. And I think the game is just gonna lean just straight on into it. Just fuck it, he's a pirate now. It's gonna be a pretty unhinged game. A lot of this trailer is story and setup, but there is kind of interspersed, we might be able to catch a bit of it, of the actual gameplay. So it doesn't play like the newer entries in Like a Dragon that have become more of a turn-based approach. And then the older series, as you can see now, it kind of plays a little bit more like a Muso, really. Now, it may just be the case that in that particular scene there were a lot of enemies, and then for the most part it'll be like smaller bouts of combat that the older Yakuza games would have been like. There is one interesting thing, and you didn't see it too much in that small gameplay clip, and I've probably skipped over it at this point, but there is aerial combat, which is very much not a thing in the Like a Dragon series. Juggles and that sort of thing, it doesn't really happen. Or if it does happen, it's an accident more than anything else. But it does seem like there is like aerial combat. You can launch people into the air and attack them that way. So it's very much, in some ways, it is very much like a dragon, and in other ways, it's kind of its own thing. Anyway, it is scheduled for February of next year, so it's out pretty soon. Which leads me to think that it's probably not going to be like a fully fledged Like a Dragon game. That's why I think it's going to be more of a spin-off type thing. Anyway, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, February, end of February next year. Then we have this game. It's a very short teaser trailer. It was shown off. I'm not actually sure if it was shown off during one of the indie showcases or if it was just put out and as its own thing. This is from the same developers behind Forgive Me Father, which was a kind of Lovecraft boomer shooter type thing. This game called Trust is a vampire-based game. You are playing the vampire, possibly the one in that coffin, who knows? He's about to get absolutely rocked by all these guys whenever they wake up. Or maybe not, who knows? Maybe you have the power to take them all down. That's all we know about it. Like this very, very short teaser trailer without showing too much off. The Forgive Me Father games are pretty good. They're pretty solid boomer shooter, very vibrant color palettes and stuff like that. So these guys should pretty good hands for a vampire game. You are playing the vampire, and there are immersive sim elements to it. That's kind of all they've said. We haven't seen any of it because that's all we've seen of the game, as it were. So yeah, maybe more to come on that. Freedom Wars was a PS Vita exclusive game, so up until now it has been essentially locked to that. So for games preservation wise, it's pretty good news that it's getting a remaster and it's not being kept on the PS Vita. Freedom Wars is kind of God Eater, I think, but in like a more modern setup. I mean, not even more modern exactly, but like with guns instead of swords, I suppose. That's what it feels like. I haven't played it myself, so I'm not sure exactly if that's actually what the game is like, or if I'm just reading a little bit too much into it. But it's good that it is not locked onto PS Vita anymore, because PS Vita is no longer in circulation, obviously. Sony aren't making them anymore. They aren't making any more UMDs and so on and so forth. So having this available on basically everything. It's definitely on PC anyway. PlayStation, Switch, not Xbox, notably. Well, it's a pretty heavily Japan-focused game, so it's not exactly surprising it's not making its way to Xbox. No release date. Oh no, never mind. There's a release date. It's right there in very plain black and white, right there, 1st of October. Okay. No, not 1st of October. 10th of January. Fucking American dates. Alright, anyway. We had a gameplay showcase from Ballad of Antara. So, Ballad of Antara was shown off at opening game night, or opening night live, whatever the fuck it's called, the Gamescom thing. And it kind of ostensibly looks like a Souls-like type thing. You know, it's very deliberate action-adventure melee stuff. Stamina bars, you know, stamina management, that kind of thing, stagger meters and what have you. What is kind of interesting about it is that it is scheduled to be a free-to-play game, and it's also allegedly launching on PS5, PC, which makes sense from the visuals, but then also mobile. Okay. I had no idea what kind of mobile device is meant to play this, but alright. I mean, yeah, they have like Resi 4 Remake running on an iPhone or what have you, but it doesn't run well. Like, this is definitely not being taken from a mobile device right now. Anyway, this video is fairly lengthy. It's about 15 minutes. That shows all kind of the gameplay. It is not anything you wouldn't expect from a Souls type. You know, there aren't too many, you call it, gimmicks or what have you. The gimmick, I think, is more that you can play as multiple characters at once. So you can see over on the right hand side of the screen, there is this L1 prompt for you to swap to a different character. And at this point in the game, there isn't a second character. There's only just this one guy. But later on in the video, I'll skip. Still didn't skip. I didn't skip far enough. Okay, hang on. It's around here. So you have a second character here. So you still have this guy who's been playing since the beginning of the video, and then there's an archer woman with you. You have this bonfire equivalent thing here. You can hang out, level up, whatever. Again, pretty standard Soulsy type things. You swap to a different character there. So the free-to-play aspect to it makes me think that maybe they're going for a gacha thing where you can, I don't know, pull for like different types of characters. So shown off in the trailer at Opening Night Live, there were a lot of characters shown off. And very few of them are shown off in this video. There is more of like a sizzle reel at the end where they show off a lot more. But even so, it's still fairly limited. So I'm not sure if they're just, you know, keeping it under wraps for now and, you know, they'll show off more, or if that's not the monetization aspect they're going for, because it's not clear. Obviously, there's going to be some kind of monetization, microtransaction, something, because it's a free-to-play game. They have to do something. Right? Where are they making their money? They're going to make it somewhere. This is a horrible-looking creature. Anyway, there's a boss fight a little bit later that kind of shows how they move between characters. So you have this kid on this like Lynx cat thing. They appear to just be a support. They don't appear to take damage. I'm not sure if they're a resource or something that you can use, or if they just fight by themselves. But swapping between characters seems to give you some amount of invulnerability. So maybe it's equivalent to a dodge roll as well. In that, you know, changing characters also counts as a dodge, or also counts as a bit of invulnerability, so you can tank and attack that way. There's also some kind of parrying mechanic going on as well. There's still a lot more to come from this game. I don't think it's scheduled for release for quite a while. Anyway, that's Ballad of Antara. Again, that video is quite lengthy, 15 minutes. You can check it out yourselves. Then a couple of games that were shown off during some indie showcases were also given release dates. So this is Sorry We're Closed, which we've seen a couple of times. This is a fairly vibrantly colored survival horror type thing. You were playing this character who can move between, I'm gonna say, like a demon world and the normal world. I don't know what the other world is called. I'm just gonna say it that way because everything kind of has a demonic look to it. And you kind of have this overlaying effect, as you can see there, where you can see into the other world at the same time. And you need to do that in order to target enemy weak points. So there's these kind of hearts you can see that are overlaid on the enemies as they get close to you. But obviously the problem is they have to get close to you for you to do that. So there's a bit of a risk reward. You can fight them at range and it will take a lot more of your resources, but you'll be safe. Or you can let them get a little bit closer and it won't take as many resources, but if you miss, you're probably fucked. Anyway, that's Sorry We're Closed. I think October is its release date. Sorry We're Closed. Coming to PC only for now. November 14th of this year. And then another kind of horror adjacent game, Cabernet. I played a little bit of this during the Steam Next Fest. So it's kind of a visual novel type thing. You are a doctor in around Victorian times who's newly awakened as a vampire, and you're trying to either, kind of keep your humanity, not attack people, and it does obviously mean that you now need to go after the wildlife instead. There's that aspect to it, or you can fully embrace becoming a vampire and go after human beings. And then there's, of course, you trying to keep up appearances. You are still a doctor. You're still known about town. Still trying to go about your daily life, that kind of way, all at the same time. Actually, I'm not sure if you are a doctor. I might be confusing this with vampire or vampire. You have some profession. Anyway, my name may not be a doctor. I may be getting that wrong. But that is kind of the gist of it. There is a sort of morality system going on. I think your vampire powers also play into how much you have fed on human beings. And there's a relationship aspect and that kind of thing. It's very much a kind of role-playing visual novel thing. And I thought it was pretty well written and voice acted, the small amount that the demo goes through. Anyway, Cabernet, I think, is the October one. Yes, 24th of October. Again, PC only for now. Nico Dorico, The Magical World, coming October 15th. They have the release date fully in the title, that one. Nico Dorico, again, was shown off. I think this one was the Game Awards of last year. And it is very much a Donkey Kong Country / Crash Bandicoot type thing. But notably, neither of those characters. But that's very much what it's going for. Colorful, animal-based platformer, mascot platform type thing. After how well Astrobot has done, I think there is very much a appetite for these kind of games. Like the Crash Bandicoot trilogy did pretty well. A lot of that you could say was potentially nostalgia. Donkey Kong Country itself is getting a remake. I don't know why the fuck this cable keeps falling down. It's pissing me off now. It's never been this bad. Anyway, Nico Dorico, October 15th. Finally, on the video trailer side of things, Silent Hill 2, again coming out pretty soon. It's coming out next month. And this trailer was focused primarily on the PS5 specific features, so mostly to do around its, the DualSense controller. It has haptic feedback. It has the triggers and what have you. But kind of drops a bombshell right at the end, which is it's actually a PlayStation exclusive, console exclusive at least. It will be on PC as well, but it's not coming to Xbox for a year. It'll be a full year. You can see there, 10th of fucking US dates again. 8th of October 2025 is when you might see it on Xbox. Doesn't actually say what the other formats are. You can probably assume that's what they mean. Or potentially a PS4. PS4 port. So PlayStation 5 specifically, not PlayStation 4. So unless you have a PC or a PlayStation 5, you won't be playing Silent Hill 2 for at least a year. Which, well, as far as I'm aware, was not known up until now. I think that's new. That's new, brand new information. Anyway, speaking of PlayStation, Sony, as you said, are still going on with their 30th anniversary stuff, and I did think that it had been pretty lax and kind of celebrating it. You know, it was fairly bare bones stuff that they were going for, and you could potentially argue that Astrobot was part of it, because it came out roughly around the same time as the 30th anniversary. Anyway, they are leaning into it a little bit further with this special anniversary collection. So there's the PS5 Pro. That's the one at the back that has all the speed lines on it. And then the PS5 Slim there on the right that has the single speed line, PlayStation Portal there in the middle, and then the DualSense Edge and the regular DualSense left and right, respectively. I really want this. And I don't want a PS5 Pro, but I really want that. I wonder if they'll just make the plates available, just the face plates. Anyway, it's going to be a pretty limited product. Where does it say it? Not sure if it says it's somewhere how many they're making. Anyway, they're only going to make, here it is, 12,300 units of the PlayStation 5 Pro of this thing. Specifically, that has to do with the date that the original PlayStation was launched. 30th of December 2000. As for all of the other products, there's no specific number settled to them. If you do decide to get the PlayStation, if you decide to get the consoles, there is a cover for the disc drive as well, so you won't have to worry about that if you happen to have a disc drive. It also comes with a PlayStation paperclip. Oh wow, thank you so much. Guys, you're really fucking spoiling us. Where is it? There's like a bunch of stickers and shit. Yeah, all this stuff. I do kind of want the cable, because it is very much like the original PS1 cable. There's a huge smash of nostalgia, basically, is what's happening here. Anyway, I will see if I can track down the controller. I'll probably try to do that. At least. I still, like, the PS5 Pro is $700. Which, as we found out, is almost €900. Like, fuck off. But also, I can't spend that kind of money. Anyway. Schedule for November 21st. Pre-orders are Thursday, I think, September 26th, says it somewhere. DualSense wireless controller, September 26th, as just a standalone. That's kind of what I'm aiming for. The rest of them, October 10th. I might spring for an Edge. Maybe, because I don't have one. Not that I really need it. What's somewhat annoying here is the boxing. Like, the PS5 Pro's box, could you even tell it was there on the screen? It's there. It's the white one that just... I don't know why they went with this, which is the original PS1 designs. This is what the boxes look like when you bought it. I don't know why they decided to go with this all-white cube for the PS5 Pro. Why didn't they keep the same thing? That's stupid. Anyway, they didn't, and as we discovered, like, close to €900. That's not happening, but still. Anyway, 3 Epic games this week. First one up is Toem, a photo adventure. This has been on, like, the PlayStation Plus catalog, I think, and the Game Pass as well, so potentially you already have it. But if you don't now, it's a free game on Epic as well. Toem is this monochrome photography game. And kind of the gist of it is you want people to, they kind of give you puzzle photograph puzzle challenges to, like, take different pictures of people, or in this case, it's to make noise so the seagulls leave them alone. A lot of it is like rotating the world to get it to a specific position so you can take a picture, like lining different things up, or finding secret things in the environment that aren't otherwise visible unless you rotate it and stuff like that. It's a fun game. I liked it. And now it's free, so you don't really have an excuse. The other game The Last Stand Aftermath is this kind of isometric zombie roguelike type thing. I think the gist of it is you are bitten like at the beginning of the game, and I think it's just a race from point A to point B to kind of get a cure, but along the way you mutate, you get different powers, or you pick up different equipment and stuff like that. Anyway, it's free. I haven't played it. I have no idea if it's actually any good. Monthly games. So again, we're hitting close to the end of the month, which means Xbox Game Pass gets a second wave for September. It is pretty PC heavy this time around. I think Wargroove 2 is the only one that is also playable on console, whereas Ara, History Untold, and Frostpunk 2 are both PC exclusives currently, at least for Game Pass. I think there's a PS5 version of Frostpunk 2 on the way, but I don't think it's actually out yet. Frostpunk 2 and Ara History Untold, I believe, are day one things for Game Pass, which is why it's Game Pass Ultimate only and PC Game Pass. So you gotta remember that the Game Pass thing got a bit of an enshittification there. This is the beginning of it, essentially, is that the day one games that you would ordinarily expect to get on Game Pass Standard isn't happening anymore. It's only going to be Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass. But either way, Frostpunk and Ara are only playable on PC, whether you have Game Pass Ultimate or Game Pass PC. Anyway, moving on. Those are some of the games you can play soon. What if you wanted to play something now? There are a lot of new releases because it is September, which means all of the games are coming out. So this is the Plucky Squire. We were talking a fair bit about this before the game came out. The game is now fully out. It is day one on PlayStation Plus. If you're on PlayStation Plus Standard, or not PlayStation Plus Extra. If you have that tier, it's day one. I think it's also on Game Pass Ultimate day one, but I don't remember. It's possible. I can't remember what I was talking about. Anyway, I'm not actually showing off any gameplay in this trailer, but the idea of it is you are playing this kind of hero who ordinarily is in like a child's storybook, but the villain of the storybook discovers that they are the villain and they don't like it, and they decide to rewrite the story. And then that now requires your character to essentially become the hero all over again, and it takes them out of the book and they start moving around on different surfaces, like into your kitchen, into your dining room, to your living room, that kind of thing. It's gotten some pretty good reviews, pretty good press, some decent aspects to it, and I think one of the criticisms is that maybe it holds your hand maybe a little bit too much. I think that's kind of fine. I think it is aiming for more of a simpler gameplay style. Anyway, that's the Plucky Squire. We have something. UFO 20, or UFO 50 even. UFO 20. UFO 20 is the light version. UFO 50 is kind of an interesting concept. So UFO 50 is a collection of 50 minigames. Or just 50 games. And the idea of it is that you are essentially playing your way through a generation of a console, of an old console that doesn't exist and never existed. A fictional console, essentially. And the idea is you're playing like some of the best games from this fictional console that doesn't exist, and you can see some of them get sequels and they like change over time. It's a really interesting idea. And from what I've read, some of the games are pretty good and some of them are not so good, and you can see why they didn't get a sequel, possibly, that kind of thing. Anyway, it's an interesting idea. As far as I can tell, it is PC only for now. I kind of want to play some of these. All right, anyway, that's UFO 50. Keylocker I've talked about once or twice on the channel because I played it again during the previous Steam Next Fest. And it's mostly talking about it because I don't know if I like it or not. So it has a bit of shades of Transistor to it. You are playing this character Bobo, who's a singer, and then music has been outlawed in this world for whatever reason. And you're like fighting back because, music, whatever, rah rah. It kind of presents itself as a turn-based game, but there is a lot of like timing-based stuff, timing-based parries, timing-based reflections and stuff from different enemy attacks, and the timing is extremely strict. to the point that I'm like dying in the tutorial trying to parry some stuff. It's like, that's a bit extreme. Like the tutorial, really? You're killing me here? That's a bit much. Anyway, that's why I'm kind of like, I'm not sure if I like it or not, because it seems to rely pretty heavily on you mitigating the damage by like parrying stuff, and if you don't, you take significant damage for missing it. Don't know if that's changed. I guess that's the only way I'll know is if I read a review of it, but I haven't because not many people have reviewed it, so we'll have to wait on that one. Anyway, maybe you can tell me when you play it. Inotria, the last song. This is another indie Souls type thing. Kind of the gimmick for Inotria is, well, one, there's the sun. You know, there's actually sunlight in the game, so that's one thing. The other gimmick for Inotria is this kind of mask system that it has. Kind of gist of it is like enemies that you defeat, like they can drop their mask, or I think maybe it might just be bosses that drop their mask. And that kind of gives you access to their abilities that you can swap in and out of, but it is effectively a different character. Probably, maybe a different way to think about it. Whatever mask you're wearing gives you different powers and different abilities, different builds maybe. So it's not clear if you're like building one character and then just gaining access to their abilities, or if it's straight up like a completely different set of stats and everything else. Sure if this trailer has any actual gameplay in it. Does not appear to. Anyway, that is out now. There was some kind of issue on getting this over to Xbox because Microsoft just weren't talking to the developer at all. They just wouldn't reply to their emails. But that seems to have been fixed. So it's making its way to Xbox eventually, but not at the same time. So it is currently PlayStation and PC exclusive. Default, because Microsoft won't respond to their own emails. Anyway, moving on. Grapple Dogs, something about canines, Cosmic Canines. Grapple Dogs, Cosmic Canines is a sequel to Grapple Dogs, which was essentially a, Spider-Man, Bionic Commando type thing, except you're a dog. Grappling type game. It's pretty good. It was a bit clunky, but it's like a fun time. Cosmic Canines is a lot of more of the same, but you now have a second character that's a bit... You want to think like the original character is Sonic the Hedgehog. This new character is Shadow. Essentially, they have a gun, but they also have all the other powers as well. So it could be the case that the character with the gun is easy mode, maybe, because you can just kill enemies that are in your way instead of the original character who's has to avoid them or can only attack them in specific ways and stuff like that. Like, they do have their own power up. Anyway, it's a fun time. The original game was a fun time anyway. It's this game, Copycat. Okay, yeah, Copycat's a bit of an interesting one because I kind of thought it was going to be more of a horror game. I don't know why. It's like some parts of the key art for the game just kind of made it seem like it was going to be a horror game. It's not. It's not to say that it's a fun, wholesome game either. The idea of Copycat is you are cat that is rescued from the shelter, and you are essentially the spitting image of this woman's other cat that has gone stray. They don't know where they are. Possibly they're dead. Who knows? And you're essentially taking their place, but they're still treating you like the old cat. And you're like, I'm not that cat. I'm a different cat. I got my own personality and what have you. And then the old cat comes back, and now you have enemies. Maybe they want their spot back. Again, not entirely sure. Because I've only played the demo, and the demo doesn't go that far. So who knows? Who knows how it works out? But anyway, it's another game where you are a cat and you do cat things. So now we have Stray, Little Kitty Big City, and now Copycat. Okay, we have a couple of remasters. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, also now out. It is Dead Rising again, from what I've read of the reviews. So if you liked it the first time, chances are you probably still like it. And if you didn't like it the first time, then you're still not gonna like it really all that much. If you are not familiar with the Dead Rising series, the gist of it is zombies but comedy. You're dropped into this mall. You are ostensibly there to kind of get the scoop as a kind of photojournalist, deliberately dropping yourself into all of these zombies. and trying to get get the story on the ground, what have you. And a lot of it is just trying to survive. The zombies individually are not really a threat. It's more the humans that have survived. They're the real threat. And it's just finding kind of silly things in the shopping center, in the shopping mall. Just going to like the food court and picking up trays and hitting people with them. And, you go into the DIY store and you're getting drills and chainsaws and shit like that. It's very fun, very zany. Absolutely does not take itself seriously at all. It's a fun time game, but it is also hard. Pretty hard. And it does kind of assume you're going to die a lot and have to restart. But you keep any of your like upgrades and stuff along the way. So eventually you'll finish the game. You just might die a lot along the way. Anyway, that's Dead Rising. And then the other remaster is Broken Sword. Broken Sword Shadows of the Templar, which is the first Broken Sword game. Reforged is how they're calling it. A lot of the artwork is repainted. Some of the puzzles that were just in concept phase and never made it into the original game have been added. Or some of the puzzles themselves have just been redone a little bit. So if you kind of remember the original game like the back of your hand, you maybe won't have, it won't be plain sailing. Some things have changed. The original Broken Sword game is a point-and-click adventure. You play George Stobart, who's, I think, just on holiday in Paris. I don't think he has a job yet in the series. But he gets caught up in this kind of conspiracy and a bomb goes off at the cafe. They were targeting somebody, shadowy organization. There's a bit of a Illuminati thing going on. He ends up in Ireland for some fucking reason, but it is potentially the most offensive version of Ireland on video games I possibly could see. I don't know if they could get any further with it. Anyway, I say offensive, but really it's just comedy. It's kind of just hilarious. Some of the voice work, fantastic. When I say fantastic, I do not mean good. Anyway, I like Broken Sword, regardless. And then we have a couple of ports. So God of War Ragnarok making its way to PC. On top of that, it has a couple of kind of funny changes, I guess, from the PS5. So as part of the PC port, some of it is making its way over to PS5 as well. And it's that you can tell Atreus to shut up during puzzles. He won't just spoil the answer immediately when you walk into the room, which is a hilarious option to have. Anyway, that's going to be on the PC port, and it will be available on the PS5 when that launches as well. And then the other port that's made its way to PC is Final Fantasy 16. It's about a year, maybe more, a little bit more than a year. Final Fantasy 16 came out. It's made its way over to PC. And from what I have seen, it is as good a port as Final Fantasy 15 was, which is not good. It was a very bad port, and it seems the Final Fantasy 16's port is not much better. But it has gotten a couple of updates, a couple of patches since then. It's not quite as bad, but I would still say it's still not running amazing on PC. And on top of that, there was a recent PS5 firmware update that has kind of fucked the game a little bit. And again, that has been patched. I don't know if it's been fully fixed. What's kind of a bit shit about the PC port, other than it not running great, which is, obviously not good. Oh wait, say it has all paid DLC? Because I thought it didn't. Available in a complete edition. So no, it doesn't come with all the paid DLC. You can buy an edition that has all the DLC. That's what it was. I'm just thinking that, yeah, I mean, it really should just be there. You're porting it across. It's not great, honestly. Anyway, I haven't seen any of that DLC, and I want to see any of it, so I'm going to move on. Anyway, we'll have a little bit more to talk about in Final Fantasy 16 in a little bit, but first, we have to talk about the worst part of video games. Video game industry. Right. Industry bullshit. Bloodborne Remaster's still missing in action, but you can fucking get Horizon Zero Dawn again. Why are you doing this, Sony? Why? Anyway, this is coming from a leak from the ESRB, which is the ratings board for video games. That's the guys who tell you if it's M for mature or whatever. So Horizon Zero Dawn is getting a PS5 remaster. Why? The PS4 Complete Edition or whatever is fine and runs fine. It does not need this. It does not need The Last of Us treatment. It does not need the Spider-Man treatment. It does not need the God of War treatment. Like, why is Sony is so heavily focused on just the 4 IPs? I keep saying 4. It's really only 3. I don't know why I keep saying 4. It's 3. It's Horizon, God of War, and The Last of Us. And that's it. And then Spider-Man, but they don't own Spider-Man, so you can't count Spider-Man. But that's kind of it. That's all they've been focused on in the last 10 years, it seems. Never mind all the other IP that was shown off in Astro Bot. Never mind all that. Fuck them. Just these 3. That's it. That's all anybody wants, right? That's what they think, because that's why they're remastering Horizon Zero Dawn. Why? Why, though? Why not Bloodborne? Why not the one everyone is actually asking you to do? And instead you're going to do all of the other ones first. I say first as if they're going to get to Bloodborne. I really don't think they're ever going to bother. I think they fully decided that they just don't care about Japanese developed games at this point. That being said, they let Astro Bot come out, but think about all the other things they've been focused on up until now. All those live service games that they then cancelled. Concord. They bought Destiny. Marathon is a heavily Western developed game, and so on. I will keep beating this drum about how Sony should never have left their HQ. Got bots in the chat again. Wonderful. Anyway. So according to sources, it's PS5 and PC. So, I mean, at least the PC version will also be getting whatever this is. Will it be a free update on PC? I know it's not going to be a free update on PlayStation because Sony do this. It's just randomly a tenner for like a couple of extra pixels on the game. PC players won't put up with that shit. I mean, PlayStation players don't put up with that shit either, but they also don't have a choice. PC players, you could argue someone will just mod it into the PS into the other version anyway. They can just do that anyway. According to sources, it's going to have like quality of life improvements, whatever that means. New character models. Again, you won't be able to tell the difference. Updating lighting and animations. Again, they can be ported, they can be modded in. New graphics modes. Just fucking PC is all about graphics modes. What is wrong with this cable? More accessibility features. I mean, sure, that's good to have, but again, that can just be modded in on PC. So, are they going to? The issue will be is that they either won't charge for the PC version update. It'll just be a patch, and they'll be given shit because they do charge it for the PS5, or they will charge for the PS5 and the PC version, and PC players will just mod it. I'm not really sure how they're going to go about it. Other news from when this came out is that there is a rumor that there is another remaster that Sony is working on. And Jeff Grubb, the guy who leaked it at the time, said that it is even less exciting than the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, that's pretty good. I just kind of want to know just how it's less exciting than possibly the least exciting remaster. I mean, the least exciting one would be The Last of Us again. Right? Because it would be hilarious. But what could be less exciting? They're running out of games to remaster is the problem. They already did The Last of Us twice. They're gonna do the other games twice as well before they get to Bloodborne. They're running out of PS4 exclusives. Eventually, they're going to be left with we can only do Bloodborne. It's the only one left. It's not like we have any new games coming out. Not when we cancelled all of them. And Concord did shit, and we cancelled it 2 weeks after it came out. We'll talk about that in a second, but what is Sony doing? They had Jim Ryan push all for the live service stuff. Then when they pushed him out, they cancelled all of the games they could cancel. And then some of them were too far along for them to cancel. Like Concord, they couldn't cancel it. It was too far along. Marathon from Bungie is, from what I've read, is in a similar position. It's too far into development for them to really recoup anything at this point. They're just gonna have to let it come out and hopefully not be shit. Don't see that happening because modern Bungie is not doing great. But they don't really have anything else on the way that we know of. Like, we know they're working on another Horizon and that it's probably a multiplayer thing. We know they're working on another Ghost of Tsushima. It mightn't be called Ghost of Tsushima, but they are working on another one. That's what Sucker Punch has been busy doing since. In Insomniac, it's possibly they're working on. We know they're working on Wolverine as a follow-up for their Spider-Man games, but again, they don't own that IP. You know, it's Marvel, it's Disney. They don't own that. God of War, I don't see them. I mean, I bet they want to make another one. I just don't see how. That being said, I didn't think they'd resurrect God of War and throw him into Norse mythology. So I mean, I guess they could figure it out. But like, you have so many other things. You have so many other IP you could work on, or make a new fucking game. Your CEO was saying you don't have enough IP. You don't, because you're only focused on 3 of them. And it's 3 people are kind of bored of. Kind of bored of them. Need new things. Anyway, as I said, Concord, talking about it. Concord director reportedly steps down. A studio awaits Sony's decision on game's future. So, Ryan Ellis, game director for Concord, stepped down over the last week. So it has been 2 weeks since Concord was unreleased after it had been out for 2 weeks. It got 2 weeks, got unreleased. Now it's been 2 weeks since. Staff at Firewalk Studios don't really know what Sony's going to do. And they're sort of like, are we getting fired? Is this company, is this studio getting shut down? Are we going to be folded into another studio? What's happening? We don't know. Kind of a shitty position to put your staff in, honestly. Ryan Ellis's part, the game flopped. He's going, okay, maybe I shouldn't be a creative director. I'm going to step down. He's taking a supporting role. He is still staying there. He's not fucking off, which, on the one hand, commendable. On the other hand, you probably should. It's unlikely you're going to get that position again, considering how Concord did. But on the other hand, I was going to say, like, it's not his fault, but, like, upper management won't give a shit. They're going to lump it on him anyway, so whether it's your fault or not, I mean, it's kind of his fault, but not 100% his fault. Anyway, Concord was removed from sale early this month, just 2 weeks after its launch. Ryan Ellis added that Firewalk would explore options and determine the best path ahead once the game was offline, but no further statements have been issued since then, so we don't know. Is Concord getting retooled and then they'll launch it again later on, or is it scrapped entirely? My feeling is it'll be scrapped entirely, but I guess we'll find out. Sources told Kotaku, I'm reporting this from Eurogamer, but Kotaku. Why didn't I go to Kotaku? Normally I do. I don't know why I didn't. Maybe I had too many Kotaku articles or something possible. Anyway, employees are pessimistic that Concord will return. I don't think it's going to come back. I think it has a bit too much bad press. Am I, like, further away from my desk than usual or something? Is that why the cable keeps falling? Anyway, they've been asked to explore pitches. So just, again, it's kind of what studios do when they don't really know what they're working on next. They go, okay, what games do people want to work on? We'll come up with something and we'll pitch it to Sony. And if Sony say yay or nay, see how it goes. However, they do believe that mass layoffs are on the cards, so that's good. They're already assuming that that's what's going to happen. Firewalk Studio employs around 150, 170 people, and it is allegedly one of the most expensive studios currently under currently under the PlayStation umbrella, if you like. It's a lot of people. We'll talk about that in a second as well. Firewalk could eventually be folded into just doing like some co-developing for another game. We do know, as I said, there is a Horizon multiplayer thing working. They might bring them in to work on Marathon as well with Bungie, who knows. Some employees have, of course, just preemptively exited. They assume it's not going to go well and they're just getting out of there. Some are hanging on just to see if there's a severance. Sure, I mean, depending on your financial situation, it might be better for you to just deal with the anxiety and see if, there's some severance coming along the way. Ellis previously served as creative director on Destiny 2, which I did not know. This is not a good track record for him now, because Destiny 2 is not doing great. Reportedly told staff last week that he would be stepping down from his current role and moving into a support role. What is a support role? We don't know. Ryan deeply believed in the project and bringing players together to the joy in it. He's a good human and full of heart, so the people who are working with him have good things to say about him. But the really believing in it, really believing in the project, etc., etc., is kind of a common refrain from a lot of different sources on saying why exactly Concord flopped. And the kind of deal with it is the people who were internal to it and who were managing it just didn't see it. They just thought this was it. As it's pointed out here in one quote, it was the future of PlayStation at one point. Now, could that have been around the same time that Jim Ryan was still pushing for the live service thing? Or is this a more recent quote? We don't know. We don't necessarily know when this is coming from. But according to a podcast, Sacred Symbols, which is an unofficial PlayStation podcast, there was talks about exactly how much Concord cost to make. And allegedly, it was $400 million to develop. For some context, God of War Ragnarok was $200 million-ish. And Spider-Man 2 was around 350 million, something like that. So more than both of those games. You can make 2 God of War Ragnaroks for what it cost Concord, and it was only out for 2 weeks, and Sony gave everybody back their money. Oh boy. All right. A culture of toxic positivity shut down any potential pushback. That's what I'm saying. The people who were in charge were like, we really believe in this. We think it'll bring people together, etc., etc. And they didn't want to hear that there are too many hero shooters right now, and this one is not doing anything to differentiate itself. They just didn't want to hear it. They were all in on smelling their own farts. And that includes the creative director who's stepped down to a support role. No matter how good a person he is, he didn't see it coming, or didn't want to believe it was coming. Not a good look. Anyway, Sony's other studio, Bungie, not doing particularly great themselves. So new Marathon details. So this is some stuff about Bungie's other game, Marathon, which is a kind of revival of one of their first-person shooter. It's hard to really call Marathon a first-person shooter, but it is technically, I suppose. This would have been the game they made before Halo. And it's pretty well liked. If you're trying to play it now, you will just bounce right off it, because controls, the art, everything just screams out of date. But if you can push past all of that, it has an interesting story. Anyway, some interesting facts came out about a kind of recent chat with some people who are working there. This is all off the record, unofficial kind of stuff. Marathon is going to be a $40 game, much like Concord, so it does seem like Sony is set to make the exact same mistake again. Should probably have been a free-to-play game, but anyway, why are they not making it a free-to-play game? Well, the reason given was that when the finals came out as a free-to-play game, it didn't do particularly well, it didn't get enough people, and then Helldivers 2 came out, and it was a $40 game and did do well. So Sony were like, okay, let's do that, and it's probably also why Concord ended up being $40, because they were trying to do the same thing with Helldivers 2. And at this point, Marathon is simply too far along in its development to pivot to free-to-play. I would argue, no, it isn't. Plenty of games that have done that in the past. You could absolutely have time to do that, but whatever, they're not going to. It's sticking with the $40 price point, and that there will be Battle Pass shit on top of it, despite many, many of those games going back on their Battle Pass things. There won't be any significant reveal from Bungie of Marathon until spring of next year, which is a huge mistake. Really need to get out in front of this, because there is a very sour taste in players about Marathon and Bungie right now, especially after Concord. Bungie are supposed to be like the grandfathers of Sony's live service push, and they're not doing great themselves, and now this is their next game. The first game that came out with them ostensibly being in the grandfather position, Concord, flopped really bad, and they're just not going to talk about their game until next year. That's bad. That's bad, guys. You got to get out in front of that. Many in the team are very, very eager to get more in front of players, but they're just not being allowed to happen. So the developers like, we really want to get this out in front of people for them to see it and get feedback and so on. They're like, nope. We're just going to show it to them, and then we're going to release it, and we're just going to do a Concord again. Closest point of comparison for Marathon's class/hero system is going to be Apex Legends, but with a bit more customization. So the idea is there will be heroes, hero shooter, again, another one. But the idea is it's that the guns and the gear that you pick up along the way is really going to be way more important to your build than who you happen to pick. So it's more a case of the hero you're picking is more of a flavor more than anything else. They might have some specific abilities maybe, but for the most part, it's the weapons and the gear that you find during the round, during the match, whatever, is way more important. Is that how it's going to iron out? We'll find out. We'll see. The idea for the original, not the original marathon, but when Barrett was creative director and he was then fired, his idea was that there would be a little bit more puzzles and secrets and stuff around the map that you would have to like not spend all of your time just shooting everybody. You'd have to like figure shit out. That's been toned down. It's still there, but it's nowhere near the scale that they had planned. So it does seem like it's going to be another arena extraction shooter thing, like all the other ones that are already there. There was one thing that might have made it a little bit different. No, fuck that. Let's just make it the same as all the other games. Anyway, is this quote here, so I'm going to read the whole thing. Marathon is in a tough spot with the stated 2025 release window. Sony very much needs and wants them to hit that, and if it doesn't, this is bad. Bungie is not exactly overflowing with goodwill on Sony's end at this point, given everything that has happened. That said, Bungie getting Marathon out in 2025 with enough content and a high enough quality bar will also be tough. We're not even getting a truly major showcase of the game until next spring, it sounds like. We're all in bad position here. They do need to get it out because Sony need money, because Sony don't have any other games coming out. They don't have anything. Because they put all their eggs in the live service basket, and nobody wants them. And they've only been cultivating those 3 IP, as I mentioned, and they've had their games. They're out already. Now they're making new ones. And you stopped making smaller experimental things and shut down all the studios that were making those small games. Now you have a massive window where you have nothing coming out. And what is coming out, people don't want. You fucked yourselves. Optimism is not exactly widespread at Bungie. Destiny 2 is not doing well. They've lost a lot of people. Their CEO is a piece of shit. Many other things. I'm just going to leave the cable down at this point. Many were voluntarily departing the company. Those working on Marathon really want to be able to talk about it, to curb some of the narratives about Bungie being dead, about it's just going to be another Concord, and so on and so forth. But they're not being allowed to, because they don't want to do a showcase until next year. This is all the more reason for Bungie to start talking about it officially. I would agree. They need to get news out about it. They need to gauge people's appetite for it, because they're fully about to do another Concord. Anyway, moving on. We'll stop talking about Sony for a second. We'll start talking about EA instead. EA CEO says generative AI is at the very core of our business. Almost 3 years after he said NFTs are pretty much the same thing. So don't read too much into this, but it's pretty. It's pretty shit, but also very telling of the investor mentality and of how easily led they are, we'll say, when they don't really know anything about how the technology works or how video games work or anything like that. They just hear, ooh, new tech buzzword, and this company I have stock in is going to do something with it. Oh, I'm going to buy more of it. And I read, allegedly, according to EA CEO Android Wilson, generative AI is at the very core of our business. This is 3 years since he spoke about the importance of NFTs to the future of the video game industry, which, as we have discovered, is absolute bullshit. And even when I said I wasn't going to put the cable back up, I did it anyway, and then it fell down. I really am going to leave it down this time. Right, development of AI has led to a market boom. EA surely knows that investors are getting impatient. They're trying to make a return on investment for their AI stuff. And it's not happening because it's shit. It's not even a gold rush, because there's no gold. It's like pyrite rush. I don't know. OpenAI stand to lose around $5 billion this year, and they are even running on credit from Microsoft. So a lot of their generative stuff, the amount of computational power it requires to do it, it's being done on Microsoft's cloud services. Microsoft's investment in OpenAI is actually like a free computational thing. They're trading with services so that OpenAI don't have to pay anything, or have to pay a very low amount right now. But that's running out. And that's where we're about to lose $5 billion is coming from, because now they're going to have to start paying for it. And they still haven't made any money. And they're the guys who are supposed to be at the top of it. The generative AI shit. If they can't make it work, what do you really think anyone else is going to make it work? There's no money. This is a big grift, and it's going to be found out, and it is being found out right now in real time. Anyway, EA and Andrew Wilson broke out the cardboard boxes. What is he talking about there? So they were showing off this. They were showing off this video. Might have it here on this tweet. Right, Jeff retweeted it. Anyway, so they were showing off this video here. This was a presentation they were giving at the time, the EA investors thing, on how this whole generative AI thing would work. Now remember, this is a video. It's pre-recorded. This isn't actually happening on the fly. They're just making this up. It's already made up. It's a presentation. They're not just actively typing into the thing. And this is what they came up with. This is their imagination. Fucking cardboard boxes. In a maze that isn't a maze, by the way. Make it more complex. You didn't make it more... You made it longer. That's all you did was make the fucking thing longer. Like, it is funny that even with their proof of concept thing, it is still shit. Make 2 characters with weapons. These awful, awful characters that they've made. And the idea is that they'll pull weapons and assets in from other EA games. But they'd make no mention. They said the exact same thing about NFTs. They said the exact same thing, that you would be able to, you know, buy an NFT of a gun and take that gun into every game. Without any mention of how is that going to work. Games run on different engines. Games have different stats for their weapons. The art style won't match. The technology won't match. You can't take a carbine M16 into Assassin's Creed. Like, it doesn't fit at all. Not only that, how would it work? The game isn't set up for fucking military ranged shooters. How is that going to work? Are they going to code it for all of it? Now we have to take all of the different possible combinations you can make. Do you think they're going to code for that? And games already take like 5 years to make? Never mind the games that have the same engine. They run on different scales. If you take it in for Dead Space, Isaac Clarke is like 100 feet tall if you drop him into Battlefield. Are they going to have to like mess with all of that for every possible permutation? And now it's meant to be generative garbage, so it could be anything. Just random shit. This won't work for the exact same reason the NFTs didn't work. Because it's not possible. Or is prohibitively expensive. When games are when they're already complaining that games cost too much to make. Think they're gonna add this thing that's gonna make it cost even more? No, is the answer. They're not gonna do that. Anyway, this video is an illustration. It's obviously not the technology actually working because the technology doesn't exist and never will. It spoke at length about how technically impressive this non-technical thing is. Because it's just smoke and mirrors. It's going to pull assets from other games, from a shared asset database, and how this will be possible. Never made it. Never showed how it would be possible, for the great number of reasons that I've just outlined. And even more. These are just off the top of my head. You can go into it. Just go back. Go back to the NFT thing, because it was the same thing. It was the same problem. You can't just take something from one game and drop it in another one. It doesn't work. Anyway, it's all pure smoke and mirrors. Transferring assets between one engine to another won't work. Those who aren't old enough or were keeping track of the big crypto NFT rush a few years back know what this is. It's just honey word for the investors because they're fucking stupid. Either, well, stupid isn't the right word necessarily, but they are ignorant of how games are made. And they just see number go up, and they hear buzzword, and they hear buzzword, and they hear money associated with buzzword, and now I'm hearing buzzword associated with this thing. So I'm put money in this thing and make number go up, and that's it. And the annoying thing is it works because it's up 7%. Anyway, it is important to also point out though that EA never actually did anything with the NFTs. It just used the buzzword to generate money, which is disgusting, but also it's kind of hilarious that it's, again, it works because they're so ignorant. Anyway, we're going to stick with EA for a second because they did have something to mention about The Sims because it's one of the few things that actually makes them money, other than the football shit, I suppose, that actually makes them all of their money. Anyway, EA is allegedly going to keep The Sims 4 going. They have no real interest in making an eventual successor, even though they keep talking about it, but you never hear anything about it. Sims 4 has been the series' longest running entry by fucking years at this point. Has accrued 1.2 billion hours, billion with a B, hours of playtime. That's a lot. Maxis doesn't want players to start everything over when Sims 5 eventually releases. I mean, you seem perfectly fine with them doing that from every other Sims. And also, don't people who play The Sims just start from scratch all the time? Isn't that a thing? Someone's going to make a new family with the new thing and do something different. Do people have, like, years-long running Sims games? Is that a thing? I can think of it being a gimmick for one of two, streamers or whatever, but I don't think do most people play Sims that way? I don't. But granted, I don't play it very often, but anyway. Anyway, talking about what will be next for The Sims shit, again, that's a lot of just meaningless buzzwords and what have you. I did mention transmedia, which is more of an allusion to there being a Sims film along the way, and potentially a TV show at some point. How that's going to work out, I don't know. There was some mention of Sims 5 and Project Rene as the future of the franchise. But again, I don't think Project Rene is really a Sims thing. I think it's more of like a Second Life deal, where you just are a character inhabiting a simulated world, rather than you overlording like a community yourself, which I don't think is really the same thing. This one I didn't really like the sound of. Creation kits that they are going to be pushing out for Sims 4 eventually are essentially player-made things. It lets people make their own assets and stuff, but that they'll then be sold in-game and creators will be compensated for their work. That has a big smelly whiff of paid mods. And we know what the PC community think of paid mods. They say no, and they just make a new mod and don't charge for it. That has a big smell of that, often. Anyway, I don't think that will do particularly great for them. That's going to have a lot of shit. Anyway, there was some other mention in there that Sims 4 was going to be getting a multiplayer mode at some point, but that's not true anymore. It's Project Rene that's going to be the multiplayer thing. That's supposed to be Sims 5. It isn't actually The Sims, and anyway, whatever. Moving on. Yeah, so I did want to talk about something about Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7. Rebirth specifically. Square-Enix is once again did not meet expectations. This is nothing new. Nothing ever meets Square-Enix's expectations because they're either deliberately too high so that they don't have to pay bonuses, or they actually don't know what games make anymore. It's one of those. I suspect it's the first one. They just cynically say it didn't meet expectations so they don't have to pay bonuses out to people. That's all. But if we take them at their word, and it didn't meet expectations. So let's take them at their word. Why didn't a brand new Final Fantasy make expectations? And why didn't a follow-up remake of potentially the most popular Final Fantasy? Why didn't they make the expectations that they were setting? We know why Foam Stars didn't, because it was PlayStation 5 exclusive, for one, and it was free to play. Or it is free to play now, but it was free to play if you had a PlayStation Plus subscription. So they weren't making any money on that. The money they would have made is whatever Sony paid them to make it an exclusive. And then whatever they paid them to put it on PlayStation Plus. So why didn't they make that money the expectation? What was the expect that they would somehow make a shit ton of money on top of that? The kind of people who would be interested in Foam Stars would already have a PlayStation Plus subscription. You need one anyway to play online. So they would have had access to the game for free. I mean, they're paying the subscription, but they wouldn't have to give Square Enix any money. So where were they expecting to make the money? It's only recently gone free to play. Like, it's a box product for other people, but the people who would have needed to play it would have already had a subscription, so they would have already been able to play it. Anyway, we're going to move on from the Foam Stars thing, because we talked about that last time when it was out. Final Fantasy specifically, and the reason for that is they keep changing Final Fantasy's genre. Its identity. They don't know what it is. And they've been trying to do that since Final Fantasy X. Largely, it was a turn-based JRPG pretty bog standard stuff. It was very good at it. There's a reason it was popular. It was the best at it, arguably. People might say other series, but it was certainly up there as top 3, we'll say, JRPGs at the time. And they kept going with that all the way up to Final Fantasy X. 10-2. If you want to get very technical about it, I suppose the sequel was also the same. And then they decided, hey, let's fuck with it and just make it a different thing. And they started chasing the trend of MMOs with Final Fantasy XI, which did not do great. Final Fantasy XII, they were still kind of going with that, and they didn't want to change too much. But they did want to get rid of the turn-based aspect because they felt that, and the industry was pushing them this way, that they were saying turn-based is dead. Nobody wants turn-based anymore. People did want turn-based. They very much did. But they bought into it and said, no, people don't want turn-based. They want real-time. And they've slowly been trying to make Final Fantasy a real-time game. They knew they couldn't do it straight away because people would be up in arms about it. But they've been slowly trying to make it happen. Final Fantasy XII was pseudo... Not really. It wasn't turn-based and it wasn't real-time. It was some sort of weird automated auto-fight system where you would set up a bunch of rules for your character so that when they encountered an enemy and it was a flying enemy, I will swap to range. It's like, if my health drops below 50%, I will drink a health potion. If this enemy uses magic, I will cast Shell, and so on. A whole bunch of rules that you would set up. And you would just let it go. Very little actual intervention from the player required. If you did it right. And if you did it wrong, a lot of intervention required. But if you did it right, and you would for the most part, because most enemies died from just, I will keep attacking until enemy dies. It's a very simple rule. That was Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy 13 kind of kept going with that, but you weren't really setting up rules so much as just learning more about the enemy, and then your player character would just automatically adapt their strategy to whatever the game considered to be the best strategy at the time. For the most part, it required very little. Again, the game practically played itself, Final Fantasy 13. 13.2, a little bit different. They started adding Pokemon aspects to it. And then Lightning Returns has a bit of a weird Majora's Mask vibe to it. Final Fantasy 14, MMO. We're going to try again. We could try again with the MMO thing because that's making a lot of money. World of Warcraft was making a lot of money. Everybody was jumping on the MMO bandwagon at this point. It failed. And then famously was rescued and is now one of the most popular MMOs, if not the most popular MMO going. But again, not turn-based. Very much not what the original Final Fantasy games, all the way up to 10. Not those games. It still doesn't play anything like it. Final Fantasy 15, we're finally moving into real time. No, the game plays itself anymore. We're away from that. Now you have almost full control over the game. You still don't quite. It's still a bit slow. There's still an internal clock there going. They're just hiding the turn-based aspect. And it's still kind of there. Final Fantasy 15 took so long to make. There was a massive gap between Final Fantasy 13, 14, and then to 15. Huge. So many years. It's like one game. We have Final Fantasy 10, Final Fantasy 10-2, Final Fantasy 11, and Final Fantasy 12 all came out on the PS2. And then it was just Final Fantasy 13 and the sequels that came out on the PS3. And Final Fantasy 14, sort of. Was at the very tail end of PS3. And then we're like halfway through PS4 generation before Final Fantasy 15 comes out. Like, huge, massive fucking time. Massive break in between. And then the same for 16. Huge fucking break between 15 and 16. And you, again, arguing it takes a very long time to make these games. It does. Final Fantasy 16, fully real time now. We're not doing turn-based at all. There's no internal clock or anything like that going. This is a full-on, real-time combat spectacle thing. It's almost Devil May Cry. Like, the guy who designed the combat of Devil May Cry designed it in this. Like, and for its part, I really like Final Fantasy 16. I thought it was really cool. You know, I'm still thinking about going back to play more of it. I enjoyed the combat. Was it Final Fantasy? No. You can't just undo 10 entries. 11, again, if you can't 10-2. of doing it one way and getting very well known for it, being synonymous with that type of gameplay, and then deciding, I'm gonna change it. Just randomly change it to anything. To whatever is the trend right now. That's what modern Final Fantasy has become. It's trend chasing. Final Fantasy VII has been an incredible technical achievement from the gameplay that I've seen. Again, I haven't felt up to playing it myself because I'm scared of the game. But from what I've seen of it, people are really enjoying it. But the people who are enjoying it are people who were fans of the original game. It's not bringing in the people who didn't play the original. Or it's not bringing in enough of them. Most of the people who bought Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Final Fantasy XVI are the people who played all of the other Final Fantasy games. It's not bringing in new people. And I think the issue is going to be is that it's not going to bring in those people. It is an old IP, but it's also an IP that changes a lot. It doesn't really have its identity anymore. It has some things you can identify it for. Moogles, and Cactuar, and guys with big swords and crazy hair and stuff like that. But again, that's stuff people who have already played the game recognize it for. If you showed people Final Fantasy 16 and you show people Final Fantasy 1, you can't see how they got from there to there. Doesn't make sense. How did we get there? This game is a weird, tactical, almost looking turn-based thing, and now we have guy doing cartwheels and flips and going Super Saiyan and shit like that. Like, how did we get from there to there? And you show Street Fighter and Street Fighter 6. You can tell. All this is improvement in graphic, and it's practically the same game. I'm being very simplistic about it, but you can see it. Tekken 1, Tekken 6, Tekken 8, whatever. You can see it. Dragon Quest 1 and Dragon Quest, what are we up to now? 12? 14? Something like that? Side by side, yep, same game. I can see it. You can tell. From the very first entry, and we're talking 1990, maybe, for the first Dragon Quest? Up to its most recent incarnation. They look the same. You can see how they got from there to there in just improvements in the technology over time. How the fuck did I get from Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 16? How did I get from Final Fantasy 10 to Final Fantasy 16? Again, I like 16. It's a good game. It's not Final Fantasy. And I say that about a lot. Anyway, I think we're getting off the topic, but the point is, Square-Enix has the wrong expectations for Final Fantasy. And I still think we're going along the cynical route of, we just don't want to pay your bonuses for not meeting expectations. That's what I think it is, really. But if we take them at their word, they don't know what Final Fantasy is. It's for a particular demographic of people, and that demographic is dwindling. It's unfortunate. I think Square Enix would see a much tighter return on investment if they went back to the turn-based approach. Because it's what people want. And they put a different IP with whatever they're doing with Final Fantasy 16. Which, again, I really like, but it's not Final Fantasy. Anyway, we'll move past this because I think I'm laboring it and I'm just going to get angry about it at this point. Behavior Interactive shuts down Midwinter Entertainment because they didn't like the game they were working on, basically. So the original story was that Project T, which was meant to be a Dead by Daylight spin-off, Behavior Interactive owned the Dead by Daylight thing, that the project had been shut down. And then the rumor was that the studio was going with it. And that had since been, and the update, that's been confirmed. That is in fact what has happened. Project T has been cancelled following a playtest that yielded unsatisfactory results. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind for a second. Okay, Midwinter has been shut down as a result of this cancellation. Again, it was alleged at the time, but as we know in the update, that's true now. Sadly, after nearly 7 years, my time with Midwinter Entertainment has come to an abrupt end due to the studio closure. Midwinter has been an amazing place to work with a group of amazingly talented, wonderful people. 7 years. 7 years. Not all working on this one game. They've worked on other games, but still. That's a lot. So talking about the playtest having unsatisfactory results. One of the crazy things, this is a quote from one of the developers. One of the crazy things is that in the most recent playtest, we got a 92 out of 100 in fun and playability, and it is being sold that the game was not liked by the players. So it's demonstrably false. This unsatisfactory results is clearly has nothing to do with the actual game itself, because it was both fun and playable. 92 out of 100 is pretty good for these kind of playtest things they do. And they note things like, you know, how satisfied were you with the characters? How satisfied were you with the gear system or whatever? They rate it, and it's like 1 to 5, and you get the score out of it at the end of it. Behavior instead were noted that they were concerned about the title's commercial perspective. So they were concerned they couldn't make money off it, or not enough money. But what's enough money? But the idea saying that the playtest itself yielded unsatisfactory results is clearly false. But that's what they're saying is the reason it was cancelled. The playability, the playtest. Not the we don't know how to make money off this. Which is, why did you even commission the project in the first place? Surely you should have that ironed out. No? How do we make money off this? $40 for our game, please. $20 for our game. $10 for our game, please. There's how you make money. We're doing it a long time. Games are not old, or games are not young. It's not a young industry. This has been a fixed solution. Money, please. Here's product. Thank you for your business. There you go. Done. Sorted. Anyway. All the employees will be offered to relocate to different studios. Behavior Interactive own a bunch of different studios in Canada. Or severance. We believe in their expertise, was the reason given here. And it's like, you believe in it so much that you shut down the game they were working on, and then shut down the studio. And told them the game was bad. When that wasn't the issue. Okay. I mean, even if you did relocate me, I'd still think I'm leaving that company. Right, moving on. Last thing. Industry bullshit. Nintendo's going after Palworld, finally. Kind of knew it was going to come eventually. It's a little too close to Pokemon for them to get away with it. So we don't really know why. Or not why. I mean, kind of know why. But the exact specific technical, legal reason that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are suing the makers of Palworld. What are their name? Pocket Pair? I mean, the real reason is it's Pokemon. It's just Pokemon with guns. And we own Pokemon, so cut it out. I mean, that's the real reason, but what's the actual legal thing they're going for? We don't know. That hasn't been revealed, and it likely won't be revealed for a good while. But the speculation, we'll say, from various patent lawyers, it's alleged that it's patent infringement is what they're going for. Pocket Pair's response to Nintendo's initial lawsuit is that at this moment, we are unaware of the specific patents we are accused of infringing upon, and we have not been notified of such details, so they don't know either. It could be weeks before we do find out, because we need to get the lawsuit put in, and then they need to find out what court they're going to be done in, what time they're going to be done in, the date, and so on, and get all that ironed out, and then we won't know until it's actually publicized. It's going to be a while before anybody finds out. But the idea is that most people assumed it would be a copyright thing because look at it. But no, that's not what they're going for. It's not going to be based on the creature designs. It's not going to be that sure looks like Mareep with a fucking M50. But no, that's not it. It actually has more to do with what specifically how you play the game. And mostly it is around the Pokeball thing. In that you throw a thing at the creature, you catch the creature, it does a little jiggle, and then you have it. And then you can throw it out again. And now the creature appears. That. Apparently that patent, specifically in a 3D game, Nintendo own it. What's interesting is they only have the patent They filed it in 2021 and it was only approved last year. So they haven't had that patent for very long. And Pocket Pair could argue that our game was in development long before you filed that patent. You know, I imagine that will probably be their argument, if that is indeed what they're being sued about. Again, we don't know. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company filed subsequent divisional patents based on the above one earlier this year and asked for review to be accelerated, which is potentially, you know, they wanted the review to be accelerated so they could file this lawsuit, maybe. This is not the first time Nintendo has gone after other Japanese video game companies for patent infringement. They've gone after a few. White Cat Project for a special technology used to operate a joystick over a touch panel. That doesn't even make sense. How to use a controller is what that sounds like. Anyway, for my part, you should not be allowed to patent video game mechanics, and you should not be allowed to patent software, but you are. Annoyingly. But you should. I don't think you should, but right now, legally, you are allowed to do it. So legally, they are allowed to enforce it. It is being filed under Japanese law. As far as I'm aware, Pocket Pair are not a Japanese developer, but they could be. I was under the impression they weren't, but maybe they are. But it's not being done under the US, it's not being done under the UK, it's not being done under the EU. So you have to keep an eye on what patent infringement means in Japan, which, as far as I'm aware, is actually quite strict. They also felt that the timing of the lawsuit is pretty important because Tokyo Game Show is coming up this week, and Sony were meant to schedule, possibly to announce, that they were going to partner with Pocket Pair to bring Palworld's a PS5 and then talk about like merchandising opportunities with Palworld and Sony together. Is that going to happen now? Are they trying to get this lawsuit in position because it means Sony would then be part of the lawsuit, potentially? Get them even more money? Who knows, but it's clear that the goal is to hurt Pocket Pair financially because they absolutely do not have the money to fight Nintendo in court. So we'll see how that goes for them, but I'd say what'll end up happening is a settlement. A fairly hefty settlement, and then Pocket Pair probably go out of business. Anyway, things going on in the community. When you're complaining about, you know, why there's so many microtransactions in video games, and why can't we go back to the old way of doing video games, and so on. Players have spent $150 million on skins and microtransactions Diablo 4. You are the reason. You are the reason why we can't go back to that old way. Stop buying it. I don't care if it looks nice. I don't care if it makes your waifu's titties look good. Stop buying the skins. Quit it. Now the other side of that is, you know, 850 million was made on just buying the game. So they're making the money regardless, you know. Since launching, Blizzard's ARPS has probably brought in over $1 billion. Like, most of that is I bought the game. No, that's most of the money. The 150 is like a shit ton of money. It is. But compared to how much they made from just selling the game, I kind of argue, guys, like, do you really need the extra 150 million? Could we get rid of the skins and microtransactions? It's like, no, of course not, because they don't just want some money. No, they want all of it. Anyway, and then one last thing about Final Fantasy 16. Producer Yoshida doesn't want you to stop. Don't make sexy mods, please. Oh. Don't make sexy mods of Final Fantasy 16, please. He says, well, there are so many sexy mods of Final Fantasy 7 already going around there. It's like, this is deaf ears. And I think it's not like he came out of nowhere and said, don't make sexy mods. This was a direct response to a question. It's like, what kind of mods would you like to see? And his quote, the full quote is, I don't want to say any particular kind of mods I want to see because it seems like it would come across as me asking you to make them. And he doesn't want to put that on anybody for them to do any work. Make whatever mods. Not necessarily make whatever mods you want, but kind of make whatever mods you want. And then I imagine he was pushed by other Square-Enix guys, because they said this before about Final Fantasy 7 mods as well, to, you know, don't put Clive in a Speedo kind of thing. You know, that's that sort of thing. But you know it's going to happen. It's already happened. As I'm writing this, the mod is being published. Right, anyway. Let's leave Plucky Square, even though that's not actually gameplay. Okay, well, fine. There is gameplay at the end, fine. Anyway, that is your news for the 16th to the 22nd of September 2024. Some games announced ahead of Tokyo Game Show, some smaller indie games that would be overshadowed when all the news of Tokyo Game Show comes out, which is this week. Sony also allegedly is going to have a state of play this week. What they're going to fucking put on it, I don't know. They don't fucking have anything. They'll probably announce the Horizon remaster and the other less exciting one, which the rumor is it's Days Gone. Yeah, that would be a fairly unexciting remaster, all right. And then probably talk about Lego Horizons. Lego Horizons? No, Lego Horizon. Anyway, that is out pretty soon, I think. So, what else they're going to talk about? I don't know. Maybe it'll just end up being a third-party state of play. Anyway, then Tokyo Game Show. Sony are going to be at it. Nintendo are going to be at it. Xbox are going to be at it. All the big studios will be. That's why the indies are getting their stuff out now, because they'll be overshadowed by it. The Yakuza pirate thing is unhinged, and it's somewhat expected for Goro Majima. Cabernet and Sorry We're Closed getting their release dates. Two games that I'm kind of interested in. Nico Dorico I think will be a lot of fun. It's the one I'm kind of interested to check out. New games released. Plucky Squire, I'm probably going to do a one-off. Fully plays a bit of Plucky Squire at some point. Broken Sword, I'm debating whether we'll do a full Let's Play. Because I do like Broken Sword, but I also know it pretty well. Not sure how fun it is for someone to just come in and just solve all the puzzle. Now, like I said, they did change some of them, so it won't be as straightforward. But I doubt they've changed it so much that I won't just figure it out eventually. Anyway, who knows? I'm still thinking about it. Industry bullshit-wise, modern Sony, modern PlayStation continues to be abject disappointment, and they have been largely since the PS3, to be honest. They just don't... They've just very quickly just focused on whatever Herman Hulst seems to like. And he seems like he doesn't like Japanese developed games. And I do. So it's going to be disappointing to me for that reason alone. But I think they are making mistakes because they don't have small games anymore. They don't have smaller, experimental, quick games to develop. You know, they don't have anything to fill the gaps in between the big games. They're just doing the big games. And they're thinking their live service push would keep them, would help fill in those gaps. You know, people would drop off to play God of War or whatever. Once they finish playing that, they go back to play Concord. And then they'll wait until Horizon comes out, and then they'll play that, and then they'll go back to Concord because it has a new season. It's whatever. Clearly, that is not going to happen. So now what are they going to do? Because anything they start now, they're not going to have it available like next month. Games take a long time to make because you decided you wanted them to be crazy high fidelity and massive 100-hour things instead of making a short 10-hour basic graphics game. Could have done that. Could have had loads of them. But no, that's not what they want to do. And now they're in this position. So what they're gonna talk about in their state of play will be pretty hilarious. EA just throwing buzzwords at their investors and making money from it is both hilarious and just very disappointing, I guess. Like, I don't think that generative AI garbage, that video they showed off, is going to make any difference. Not make any difference. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, because they said the same thing about the NFT stuff and it went nowhere. And it's very much a fad technology. So I don't think we have anything to worry about on that side of things. Square-Enix, again, hilariously, did not meet expectations. It's a meme at this point. And like I said at the beginning of that story, I do think it's a cynical ploy for them to not pay people bonuses. But again, taking them, if you do take them at their word, they don't understand what Final Fantasy is right now. And I don't think Final Fantasy itself knows what it is right now. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. What's going on the channel for next week? So we have our roadmap. We didn't actually do a lot of streams this week. I started Hollow Body. I don't know how long Hollow Body is, but I feel like we're about halfway through it. And then I was planning to also start Pentiment this week, but we didn't get around to it. So we're still largely in the same position. I have swapped out Cyberpunk for Resident Evil Revelations because it'll be the next entry in the Foley Plays Resident Evil series, and Final Fantasy VI is already there, which is the next in the Foley Plays Final Fantasy series. Because I don't see myself playing Cyberpunk before the end of the year. Just don't see it. I mean, there's a lot of games I see here that I'm probably not going to play at this point. Like I already took Tears of the Kingdom out and put Astrobot in there. I kind of don't see it doing Death Stranding because it's a very long game. I don't really have the time for it now. That'll probably get kicked out for something else. But right now, that's where we're at. Off stream, I went back to Journey to the Savage Planet and finished it. Journey to the Savage Planet is a really fun first-person Metroidvania kind of thing. The kind of gist of it is you are sent to the Savage Planet. I don't know why this refuses to go full screen. You're sent to the Savage Planet. It is potentially a co-op game. I played it all single player. And the idea is you're trying to get your way into this tower that is at the center of the area that you're in, and figure out what's going on and catalog all of the things and what have you. And you're working for a not particularly great corporation that's kind of skimped on safety equipment and all that kind of thing. The writing and the dialogue is hilarious. And the voiceover from your AI companion bot, again, laugh out loud a couple of places. I thought it was very funny. And the DLC is also very funny as well. And it's just good because this was at one point a Google Stadia exclusive and would have essentially died when Stadia died. But it was rescued and ported to every other platform as far as I'm aware. And the game studio itself was acquired by Google to make Stadia exclusive games. This is the only one they made. And then they were promptly sold off when Google decided to get out. Their next game, Return to the Savage Planet, is very much coming from a position of, wow, that was some shit treatment we got from Google. So that will be pretty funny. But after reading their interview, I kind of wanted to check out this game, and yeah, it's good. It's a good one. On top of that, I started and then finished The Invincible, which is a game published by 11-Bit Studios, and it's a walking sim. But the gist of The Invincible is you are dropped onto this planet as somewhat of a rescue mission, and you are looking for, the other people of your research team. And as you get down there, you discover that there's something up with this planet. It's seemingly lifeless and barren, but there are some evolutionary markers that suggest something strange is going on with the planet. And you eventually discover all the weird shit that's happening. It is allegedly based on an old sci-fi novel that I've never heard of, called the same name, The Invincible. It's pretty cool. I thought it was really good. And it seems to have quite a number of different endings and branching points and stuff like that. So I've only done the one playthrough. I will probably go back at some point. I might stream it, actually, the next playthrough of it. We'll see just how branching it really is, but I quite liked it. Anyway, that's The Invincible. Anyway, next week's schedule is going to be a bit slim because I'm not around for a lot of it, basically. Hollow Body, we will continue on Tuesday. Potentially we'll finish it on Tuesday as well, and if we do, we'll do Pentiment on Wednesday. But if we don't finish it on Tuesday, we'll continue with it on Wednesday. There won't be a stream on Thursday or Friday of this week. I won't be around. Saturday is also somewhat tentative. I may or may not be around, but if I am, more than likely we'll have finished Hollow Body by then. I don't see it being longer than that. But again, I don't actually know. Maybe, but it doesn't strike me as that long a game. We'll begin Pentiment on Saturday. Anyway, that is the plan for next week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday are our streaming days. And Sunday, obviously, the weekly news recap. It's what you're watching right now. I'm going to head off then. Have a good rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you on Tuesday for Hollow Body. Bye.